Morning, everybody. Morning, everybody. Suprabhat, Mangal. Now let's start. Now, in the last class, we were discussing India-Nepal relations, and in India-Nepal relations, we have discussed different types of disputes. For example, Madhesi problem we have discussed. We have discussed the Chinese intervention also. That how the Chinese intervention in Nepal has enhanced. But we were writing also the Kalapani disputes, and I think that we have written only the Susta region dispute. We haven't written the Kalapani dispute. So let's write about the Kalapani dispute. So we can see 90% of boundary between India and Nepal is well settled, but there are two disputes between India and Nepal related to boundary, and one is called as Susta dispute, another dispute is Kalapani. Around another dispute between India and Nepal, another dispute between India and Nepal is the Kalapani dispute, Another dispute between India and Nepal is the Kalapani dispute. The Kalapani region is situated at the tri-junction of India Nepal and China. It includes three regions. Kalapani. It includes three regions. Kalapani, Limpi Adhura, and Lipulekh. Kalapani, Limpi Adhura and Lipulekh. Now this region is under the control of India since 1962. Write down. This region is under the control of India. Since 1962. This region is under the control of India since 1962. Under the control of India since 1962. Fine. And as far as this region is concerned, in the year 2020, when in the year 2020, objection was raised to India controlling the Kalapani region, although the Jammu and Kashmir reorganization bill of 2019, the map attached to that bill, Kalapani was shown as a territory of India, to which objection was raised by Nepal. Write down. In the year 2019, when Jammu and Kashmir reorganization, bill was passed, when Jammu and Kashmir reorganization bill was passed, Kalapani region, which obviously includes these two areas also, Kalapani region was shown as a part of India. In the map attached to this bill. And this was opposed by whom? This was opposed by Nepal. Write down. Nepal opposed this map. Nepal oppose this map. Clear? But the things are very old. The dispute dates back to the year 1816. Clear? So the dispute dates back to the year 1816 when Sugauli Agreement was signed between British government, British India and Nepal. Around the dispute date backs to 1816, 1816 when Sugauli Agreement, Sugauli is in Bihar, when Sugauli Agreement was signed between British India, and Nepal, British India and Nepal. And what was the agreement? The agreement said that the river Kali, or which is called as Mahakali, or which is called as also Sarda River, the river Kali should be the western border of Nepal. Clear? So river Kali would be marking the western border of Nepal. So the Sugauli Agreement asks Nepal to surrender all the territory towards the west of river Kali, so that river Kali acts as a boundary between boundary between India and Nepal. Right on, this agreement asked Nepal to surrender. This agreement asked Nepal to surrender. Agreement asked Nepal to surrender. Asked Nepal to surrender all territories. All territories. This agreement asked Nepal to surrender all territories towards the west of the river Kali. Towards the west of river Kali. West of river Kali. All territories towards the west of river Kali, so that river Kali becomes the western boundary of Nepal with India. Towards the west of river Kali, so that river Kali becomes the western boundary of Nepal with India. Western boundary of Nepal with India. Western boundary of Nepal with India. So this was the Sugauli Agreement. Clear? But there were problems related to this agreement. Now, this agreement did not contain any map. So no map was attached to this agreement. Clear? First thing. So this agreement raised some concerns. Right now, no map was attached to this agreement. No map was attached to this agreement. No map was attached to this agreement. And we can see also, not only this, the British cartographer, for strategic reason, were responsible for shifting the boundary towards the east also. Write down, the British cartographers, for strategic reasons, British cartographer for strategic reasons were responsible for also shifting the boundary towards the east. Were responsible for also shifting the boundary towards the east. Also shifting the boundary towards the east. That was the second concern. And the third concern is what? That maybe river Kali has changed its course. Write down. Another concern is that maybe river Kali. Another concern is that maybe river Kali has changed its course. Maybe river Kali has changed its course. Another concern is that maybe river Kali has changed its course. Clear? So according to Nepal, these are territories of Nepal only. And according to India, these are territories of India. Now this region is situated at a height of 3,600 meters and is of strategic importance to India against China. And that's why 1962 India from 1962 India is controlling it. Right on. This region is situated at a height of 3,600 meters, at a height of 3,600 meters, 3,600 meters, and is of strategic importance to India, and is of strategic importance to India, and is of strategic importance to India. Clear? Strategic importance to India. Fine. Now the dispute is mainly related to what? The dispute is mainly related to perception of the river Kali, location of the river Kali. Right now, the dispute is mainly related to location of the river Kali. The dispute is mainly related to the location of the river Kali. The location of the river Kali. A river Kali. And what does India say? India says, first of all, let's see what does Nepal say. Nepal says that the river originates at a stream, near a stream, and this stream is present near Limpi Adhura, which is towards the northwest of Lipu Lake. So Kalapani, Lipu Lake and Limpi Adhura are part of Nepalese territory. Right on, according to Nepal. According to Nepal, the river Kali originates. According to Nepal, the river Kali originates. River Kali originates. Kali originates. According to Nepal, the river Kali originates near a stream, which is present near Lipu Lake, which is present near Limpi Adhura, not Lipu Lake, which is present near Limpi Adhura, northwest of Lipu Lake, which is present near Limpi Adhura, northwest of Lipu Lake, northwest of Lipu Lake. And as such, Lipu Lake, Kalapani and Limpi Adhura are parts of what? Are parts of Nepal only. Right down. As such, Lipu Lake, Limpi Adhura and Kalapani. As such, Lipu Lake, Limpi Adhura and Kalapani are parts of Nepal only. Are parts of Nepal only. So it means that all these territories are present towards the east of river Kali. It means that, good morning, it means that all these territories are present towards the east of river Kali. It means that all these territories are present towards the east of river Kali. All these territories are present towards the east of river Kali. Towards the east of river Kali. Clear? So if it is present towards the east of river Kali, it means that should belong to Nepal. Clear? It should belong to Nepal. That is the stand taken by Nepal. On the other hand, India says no. According to India, river Kali originates near a spring, and this spring is present below Lipu Lake, and that's why all these territory is towards the west of river Kali. Right down. According to India, river Kali originates. According to India, river Kali originates near a stream below Lipu Lake, near a stream below Lipu Lake. As such, all these three territories are situated. All these three territories are situated towards all these three territories are situated towards the west of River Kali. All these three territories are situated towards the west of River Kali. The west of River Kali. Towards the west of the River Kali. Fine. And if all these three territories are situated towards the west of the River Kali, it means that they belong to the India, towards the west of the River Kali. Now Nepal demands what? Nepal demands that the western border of Nepal should be shifted at least 5.5 kilometers. Right now Nepal demands the western boundary of Nepal, should be shifted at least 5.5 kilometer, at least 5.5 kilometer, 5.5 kilometer. And as far as these regions are concerned, these regions are a part of Pithoragarh district in Uttarakhand, but are claimed to be a part of Nepal's district, and Nepal's district is Sudur Paschim. Clear? So that's claimed to be a part of Sudur Paschim district of Nepal. So that's the dispute. And Nepal does not appreciate, does not approve the construction of a road by India for the Mansarovar Yatra. Right now, Nepal also does not approve. The construction of a road by India. For the Mansarovar Yatra. Mansarovar Yatra. In the last class, I discussed that when you are talking about India-Nepal relationship, the bone of contention is Madhesi problem, the bone of contention is Kalapani. These are two main bone of contention. Main bone of contention between main bone of contention between India and Nepal. These two. But there are other disputes. We have discussed that presence of ISI in Terai region, human trafficking, clear. Then also counterfeit currency, the hijacking of IC-8M. So all these things we have discussed, clear. But the main is these two issues. And we have also discussed that China was never a big player in Nepal earlier. And now it is responsible for constructive engagement in Nepal. How this happened? This happened due to Madhesi's agitation of 2015. It also happened due to Nepal earthquake of 2015, because China constructed bridges to supply, and the bridges were constructed on a war footing to supply the foodstuffs and the other articles to Nepal. So that was done. So these things were done. And also we can see, as far as China is concerned, China has enhanced its engagement in Nepal. China is responsible for constructing the Trans-Himalayan transport network. China is connecting Nepal with rail routes, and Nepal is also a part of OBOR and also gets assistance from Asian Infrastructure Development Bank, which is sponsored by China. Clear? Also gets assistance from Asia Infrastructure Development Bank. So you can see China is also responsible for supplying arms to Nepal, and Nepal has not sought the permission of India, which is a violation of 1950 agreement. So all these things can be written as far as China is concerned. Clear? But our concern is also there, that a number of projects are going now to China, which we should have constructed. So delay made by India in construction of these projects are a matter of concern. So we should not only emphasize on religious diplomacy like uh, the Somnath, Vishwanath and Pashupatinath connect, but we should be responsible for also constructive engagement with Nepal. Clear? So all these things should be written in our relationship with Nepal. Write down China's engagement with Nepal. China's engagement with Nepal has enhanced over the years. China's engagement with Nepal has enhanced over the years. And China took benefit of Madhesi agitation. Madhesi agitation. China took benefit of Madhesi agitation 2015. Madhesi agitation 2015. Nepalese earthquake. Nepal earthquake, not Nepalese. Nepal earthquake. Earthquake of 2014. Nepal earthquake of 2014. And carried out work on a war footing. And carried out work on a war footing. On a war footing. Carried out work on a war footing to develop bridges. To develop bridges through which relief measures can be supplied. Through which relief measures can be supplied. Relief measures can be supplied. So this was made by China. Clear? And China also took advantage of the Communist Party coming into power in the year 2008. Write down. China also took advantage of. China also took advantage of Communist Party coming into power in the year 2008. Communist Party coming into power in the year 2008. In the year 2008. So the Chinese engagement with Nepal enhanced. Now today China is responsible for taking the advantage of delay made by India for establishing projects in Nepal. Write down. Today China is taking advantage. Today China is taking advantage. Taking advantage of delays made by India. Of delays made by India in establishment of projects in Nepal. Taking advantage of delays made by India in establishment of projects in Nepal. Establishment of projects in Nepal. Clear? So, and China is responsible for conducting joint exercise with Nepal and also supplying Nepal's with arms, which is a violation of 1950 treaty. Right down. China conducts joint military exercise with Nepal. China conducts joint military exercise with Nepal. Joint military exercise with Nepal. And also is supplying arms to Nepal. And also is supplying arms to Nepal. Also is supplying arms to Nepal. Arms to Nepal. Which is a violation of. Because Nepal has not sought the permission of India, which is a violation of 1950 agreement between India and Nepal. Which is a violation of 1950 agreement between India and Nepal. India and Nepal. 1950 agreement between India and Nepal. India and Nepal. Is that clear? 1950 agreement between India and Nepal. So that has been done by China. Fine. And China has also connected Nepal in the Trans-Himalayan Transport Network. Right on. China has also connected Nepal. China has also connected Nepal. In the Trans-Himalayan Transport Network. In the Trans-Himalayan Transport Network. Trans-Himalayan Transport Network. So China is responsible for connecting Nepal in that network. And China is also establishing rail links with Nepal. Write down. It has also established rail links with Nepal. It has also established rail links with Nepal. Rail links with Nepal. And Nepal is already a part of. OBOR. Nepal is already a part of OBOR. OBOR stands for One Belt, One Road Initiative. Nepal is already a part of OBOR. That is One Belt, One Road Initiative. One Belt, One Road Initiative. So Nepal is a part of that. And as far as Nepal is concerned, Nepal is also benefiting from the Asian Infrastructure Development Bank sponsored by China. Right now, Nepal is also benefiting. Nepal is also part of Asian Infrastructure Development Bank. Asian Infrastructure Development Bank. So, in this perspective, we can say that India should revisit the agreements which it has signed with its neighbors earlier. For example, 1949 agreement with Bhutan, 1950 agreement with Nepal, and sign it on equal terms. Why should Nepal seek permission from India in purchasing arms from any other country? Clear? So agreement of 1950 needs to be revisited first of all. And second thing is that India should not delay the establishment of projects in Nepal for which it has agreed. Write down. India should not delay the establishment of projects in Nepal. India should not delay the establishment of projects in Nepal for which it had agreed. Establishment of projects in Nepal for which it has agreed. Clear? So all these. So our concern is also the engagement of China. But see, some good moves have been made by India recently. And one such good move is what? One such good move is that we have established the Motihari Amlekhganj oil pipeline. And this is the first transnational pipeline that India has. Write down. Some initiatives taken by India can strengthen our ties with Nepal. Some initiatives taken by India can strengthen our ties with Nepal. Which includes initiatives taken by India can strengthen our ties with Nepal, which includes the establishment of Motihari Amlekhganj. Amlekhganj is Nepal. For example, establishment of Motihari Amlekhganj pipeline. Now we can see that this pipeline which we are talking about, This pipeline has been developed by whom? It has been developed by IOC, Indian Oil Company. Right on this pipeline has been developed by. This pipeline has been developed by IOC. That is, this pipeline has been developed by IOC, that is Indian company, IOC. Clear? And this is the first transnational pipeline that India has developed. Write down. This is the first transnational pipeline. This is the first transnational pipeline that India has developed. Clear? And recently we can see that the Prime Minister of Nepal, his name is also Prachanda, Pushpa Kamal Prachanda. So Prime Minister of Nepal visited India, and he paid a visit to India in June 2023 only, and a number of agreements related to energy was signed. Clear? Now these agreements, according to India, would be responsible for bringing more and more economic prosperity in Nepal. Right on. Recently, the Prime Minister of Nepal, Mr. Prachanda, visited India, and a number of agreements related to energy were signed. Energy were signed. And the first agreement was what? And not only this was signed, but also we can see that these agreements would be mainly for economic prosperity of Nepal. Right? These agreements would bring economic prosperity in Nepal. These agreements would bring economic prosperity in Nepal. And what are the agreements that we are talking about? Now the agreement includes what? The agreement includes Butawal Gorakhpur transmission line. Right? The agreement includes, now there is a power supply transmission, 400 kV of power will be supplied through this. Right? The agreement includes establishment of a transmission line, between Butawal and Gorakhpur. And we can see that this transmission line would be a 400 kVA transmission line. Right? On this transmission line would be a 400 kV transmission line. This transmission line would be a 400 kV transmission line. Clear? 400 kV transmission line. And not only this, MOU has been signed by the two countries for development of Fukot Karnali hydroelectric project in Nepal, which will be having a capacity of 480 megawatt. Right down. MOU has been signed by the two countries. For establishment of 480 kilowatt, not kilowatt, it should be megawatt, 480 megawatt hydroelectric project called Fukot Karnali, Fukot Karnali. The names are difficult to pronounce. Fukot Karnali hydroelectric project. Clear? And not only this, India has also agreed to develop the Lower Arun hydroelectric project in Nepal. Right now, India has also agreed to develop. India has also agreed to develop the Lower Arun. India has also agreed to develop the Lower Arun hydroelectric project. The Lower Arun hydroelectric project. And this would be of more than 600 megawatt hydroelectric project which is to be developed. And not only this, it has been also agreed that Nepal has a hydroelectric potential of 40,000 megawatt. So the agreement between the two countries says that 10,000 megawatt of power would be exported to India. Right now, the agreement also says that. The agreement also says that 10,000 megawatt, 10,000 megawatt of power would be exported to India. Of power would be exported to India. Exported to India. And the agreement talks about also the rail services. So a rail link would be developed from Bagnaha. No, it's not Bagnaha. It's Batnaha. Batnaha is in Araria district of Bihar, and Jogbani in Nepal. Right on. A new rail route between Batnaha. A new rail route between Batnaha and Jogbani in Batla is Araria district of Bihar, and Jogbani is where? Jogbani is in Nepal. A new rail link between Batnaha, Araria district of Bihar, and Jogbani in Nepal would be developed. And we can see that before that, when the Prime Minister of India was responsible for going to Nepal, he was responsible for also inaugurating the Indian Center for Buddhist Studies at Lumbini. Right down. When Prime Minister visited Nepal earlier, he inaugurated the Indian Center for Buddhist Studies at Lumbini. Indian Center for Buddhist Studies at Lumbini. So what should we take into consideration while developing good ties with Nepal? First of all, we should look at the economic prosperity of Nepal, not only religious, and we should not delay the projects that we have signed. Clear? So it's not only that the religious connect between the two countries would serve our purpose, but also for our purpose, the delays made in the establishment of project is a matter of concern, and we should be responsible for removing that. Clear? So all these things are there in India-Nepal ties that you have to know. So this tie has been completed. There's a small relation that we have to cover up, and that is called as what? It is called as India-Myanmar relation. So let's see the India-Myanmar partnership. India-Myanmar partnership. India-Myanmar partnership. See, we have ties with Burma, which is now called as Myanmar, from the ancient past. And Buddhism, and this tie is mainly due to Buddhism, because Buddhism is a part of life in Myanmar. Buddhism is a part of life in Myanmar. And as far as Buddhism is concerned, we can see that the type of Buddhism which is practiced in Myanmar is called as the Buddhism of the elders, or is also referred to as Theravada Buddhism. So it is called as the Buddhism of the elders, or it's called as the Theravada Buddhism. Clear? Now this type of Buddhism, or Theravada Buddhism, has been practiced in Myanmar, Thailand, and also in Sri Lanka. Now, as far as Myanmar is concerned, the British conquest of Myanmar started in 1826. It started in 1826, when we can see that the Battle of Tenasserim was fought, Arakan and Tenasserim was fought, and British was responsible for capturing Lower Burma in 1852 and also captured Upper Burma in 1856. Yes, so Burma was captured by the British India. So it became a part of British India. But it was after 1956 that a number of Indian went to Nepal, and they were mainly money lenders. They were commercial people, money lenders. And not only Indian money lenders were present, Chinese money lenders were also present in Nepal. Chinese money lenders were also present in Myanmar. And these money lenders were responsible for exploiting the people of Myanmar. So there was an uprising against the Chinese and the Indian money lenders. And this uprising against the Chinese and the Indian money lenders led to what? Led to the separation of Burma, led to the separation of Myanmar, or Burma you can say, in the year 1935. 1935, so it's separated from India. But further we can see in the year 1943, with the help of Japan, it gained independence. But when Japan was defeated, it again became a part of British India. Finally, it got independence in 1948. Finally, we can see that it got independence in 1948. Now, when we refer to our ties with Burma, when we are responsible for referring to our ties with Burma, we can see that our ties with Burma are based on some important consideration, which not only includes external security consideration, but also internal security consideration. It also includes the energy perspective and also includes strategic reasons. That was the first introduction. We have India-Myanmar relations. Both countries have better ties with each other since the ancient past. Both countries have better ties with each other since the ancient past. Since the ancient past. Buddhism is a part of life in Myanmar. Buddhism is a part of life in Myanmar. And the type of Buddhism which is practiced, is called as the Theravada Buddhism. And the type of Buddhism which is practiced is called as the Theravada Buddhism, or the Buddhism of the elders, Buddhism of the elders. Theravada Buddhism or the Buddhism of the elders. Buddhism of the elders. Clear? So this is type of Buddhism practiced in. Now we can see the British conquest of Burma started in 1826 when the Battle of Arakan and Tenasserim was fought. Write down the British conquest of Myanmar started in 1826. The British conquest of Myanmar started in 1826. When the Battle of Arakan and Tenasserim. When the Battle of Arakan and Tenasserim were fought. Battle of Arakan and Tenasserim was fought. In 1852. Lower Burma. In 1852, Lower Burma was captured by the British. And in 1856, Upper Burma was captured by the British. And in 1856, Upper Burma was captured by the British. So Burma became a part of the British India. Upper Burma was captured by the British. And it was at this stage, we can see after 1856 that a number of Indians went to Burma and they were mainly money lenders and businessmen. Write down. After 1856, a number of Indians went to Burma. After 1856, a number of Indians went to Burma who were mainly money lenders. And businessmen. But then we can see there was an uprising against the Chinese and the Indian money lenders as they were accused of exploiting the people of Myanmar. There was an uprising against the Chinese and Indian money lenders. There was an uprising against the Chinese and Indian money lenders, which led to the separation of Burma. In 1935 from the British Empire. Led to the separation of Burma in 1935 from the British Empire. And with the help of Japan, Burma got its independence also in 1943. With help of Japan. Burma became independent in 1943. But soon Japan was defeated. And it came under the control of British Empire. Clear? But finally it became independent. Yes, we are coming to India and Rohingya. Please let me complete. Just I am coming to the issue of Rohingyas also. Just wait for a few minutes only. Finally, it became independent in 1948. There's a very famous Hindi song, and it's not of your times. It's of the older times, not even of my time, more than that. my grandparents' time. And the song is Pia Gaye Rangoon. So the Pia went to Rangoon when? After only 1856, when the Upper Burma was captured by the British, then the Indian businessmen and merchants went to Burma. Clear? Myanmar. Clear? After that, I won't utter the song again, but this is a song which is relevant in the context of 1856. Now we can see that as far as the significance of Burma is concerned, the significance of Burma is manifold for India. And the first significance is what? The first significance is that it is a transit point between South Asia and Southeast Asia. That's the first significance. So Burma is, you can see, in other words, you can say Burma is the entry point for Southeast Asia, and this would be consolidating our look east policy. Clear? This would be consolidating our look east policy. That's the first thing. Second thing is what? Burma is known for its untapped hydrocarbon reserves. Burma is known for its untapped hydrocarbon reserve. And India is an energy starved nation. Third concern is what? Drug trafficking, human trafficking takes place from the porous borders that we have with Myanmar. And Moreh is a point in Manipur, and which is a transit point to Burma, that's Myanmar. And this is another concern for us. External security perspective is also there. And why external security perspective? Due to Chinese presence. Because military junta is present in Myanmar, and Chinese always have good relationship with them. And that's why we can see that China has established a port at Quoc Phu. China has established a port at Quoc Phu. That's a concern. Clear? So all these are the main concerns in India-Burma relationship. Write down. Burma is located, not Burma, Myanmar now. Now we'll write Myanmar. Burma for the historical, in the historical era. Write down. Myanmar is located as a transit point between South Asia and Southeast Asia. As a transit point between South Asia and Southeast Asia. And one can also say that this is the gateway to Southeast Asia, and would be responsible for better ties with Myanmar, would be responsible for strengthening our look east policy. Right? It is also considered as the gateway to, it is just a bit of disruption due to power failure. Let's continue. It is also considered as a gateway to, Southeast Asia, and better ties with Myanmar, would strengthen, our look east policy. Better ties with Myanmar would strengthen our look east policy. Clear? So you can see that Myanmar is significant for India for what? For strategic reasons. Clear? So one is strategic perspective. Second perspective is what? Second perspective is the internal security perspective, because Myanmar shares boundary with whom? Myanmar shares boundary with the northeast states of India. Clear? And secondly, we can see also that as far as the insurgent groups of Northeast is concerned, the insurgent groups of Northeast take refuge in Myanmar and have established camps in Myanmar. The insurgent groups of Northeast. So that's your internal security perspective. Fine. So next is your internal security perspective. Right on, Myanmar shares boundary with Northeast states. Myanmar shares boundary with Northeast states and a number of insurgent groups of Northeast. Insurgent groups of Northeast have camps in Myanmar, and a number of insurgent groups of Northeast have camps in Myanmar. Clear? And a number of insurgent groups of Northeast have camps in Myanmar. Plus, we can see the boundary between the two sides is very porous and is famous for drug trafficking and human trafficking. Right on. Further, the boundary between the two countries, is very porous. And is famous for drug and human trafficking. And is famous for drug and human trafficking. Clear? Fine. This you have to know. Now another perspective is what? Another perspective is external security perspective. Clear? So the presence of military junta in Myanmar gives good opportunity to China to align with them. And China has always welcomed that. But China has established ports in Myanmar like Quoc Phu, which is security concern for India. Right on, China has established ports in Myanmar like Quoc Phu, which is a security threat to India. And not only this, Chinese have done. Chinese have also established a surveillance center to the south of Myanmar, which is very close to Chandipur. Right down, China has also established a surveillance center. To the south of Myanmar. Which is very close to Chandipur. And Chandipur is near Odisha. The Indian launch pad for missiles. Which is very close to Chandipur, the Indian launch pad for missiles. Now that's your external security perspective. And we can see that China has good relations with military junta of Myanmar. Right down. China has good relation with military junta. Of Myanmar. of Myanmar. Is that clear? Of Myanmar. After this, we'll deal with Afghanistan and a bit of Sri Lanka also to complete the neighbors. Maldives is not very much relevant because hardly questions are asked. So we'll try to cover up Sri Lanka and Afghanistan. Clear? Now, Chandipur, which is launchpad of Indian missiles. Now that's your external security perspective. And last one, and that's what energy perspective. India suffers from energy crisis and Myanmar has untapped hydrocarbon reserve. Right on. India suffers from energy crisis. India suffers from energy crisis and Myanmar has untapped energy reserves and Myanmar has untapped energy reserves, hydrocarbon reserves particularly, untapped hydrocarbon reserves, untapped hydrocarbon reserves. Clear? Now all these are the considerations. See, the culture which developed in Myanmar as a result of the developments in Myanmar is called as what? It's called as Bamar culture. And if we look at the demography of Myanmar, we can see Myanmar is dominated by Burmans. Why? Because if you look at the demography of Myanmar, 68% of Myanmar, 68% of the population is that of what? It is that of Burmans. And Burmans are what? Burmans are mainly Buddhists. Then we can see 9% is your Shan community. And they are who? They are Mongolites. Mongolites. 7.8% is Kagan and Karen. So some of them are Christians and some of them are Buddhists. 2.3% is Kachin. Now they are Chinese. And the remaining is Rohingyas. Rohingyas are Indian Muslims who migrated to. That's a surveillance center. That's a surveillance center which is, it's not located that a place can be mentioned there. It's located in Bay of Bengal, and that surveillance center of see, it is true that Coco Island was given by Pandit Nehru to Myanmar and it is being used by Chinese. But then it was not that we gifted this territory to Myanmar so that China can benefit. At that time, the Chinese concern was not there. The Chinese concern developed later on. See, one words you can say, yes, that is considered as the betrayal. Clear? The Coco Island transfer is considered as betrayal. But the Chinese surveillance center is not exactly located at the Coco Island. It's near the Coco Island located. So you cannot say that this is betrayal. And if suppose this territory was gifted by India to Myanmar, then it can be used for many purposes. It is upon them to decide that whether it should be used for what purpose it should be used. But as far as the surveillance center is concerned, the concern is not that who gifted whom. The concern is where it is located. It is located very close to Chandipur. Clear? And that's the Indian launch pad for missiles. Surveillance center is what? Surveillance center is to monitor the happenings which is taking place in your area. Fine. Now, now see, Rohingyas are, so that's the, write down, the culture which has developed in Myanmar, the culture which has developed in Myanmar is referred to as the Barmer culture. The culture which has developed in Myanmar is referred to as the Barmer culture. And the demography of Myanmar includes the following. You can note that. And the demography of Myanmar includes the following. That is 68% Burmans who are Buddhist, 9% San community who are Mongoloids, 7.8% Kagin and Karen who are Christians or Buddhists, 2.3% Kachin community which is Chinese, and remaining is Rohingyas. Clear? This is Rohingyas. But Rohingyas are Indian Muslims. So undivided India Muslims from undivided India, not after the time of partition. Now, the concern is what? The concern is ethnic conflicts. Remember one or two lines. The continuation of military junta rule, military regime rule in Myanmar is why it continues. It continues because of the ethnic conflicts. So Myanmar is a region of ethnic conflicts, and because of these ethnic conflicts, the regime of military junta, the military junta regime continues. Clear? Because of these ethnic conflict, it continues. Now, if you look at the western side of Myanmar, the western side of Myanmar is a province, and this province is the football of Myanmar. Now, this is called as what? It is called as the Rakhine province. It's referred to as what? It is referred to as the Rakhine province. And it is in this province which is also called as the football of Myanmar, because Myanmar is one of the biggest exporters of rice in the world. Clear? One of the biggest exporters of. So this province is an area of conflict between Burmans and Rohingyas, because Burmans are accused by Rohingyas of discrimination against them. An exodus of Rohingyas took place from the Rakhine province. On the other side of the Rakhine province is the Bangladesh. So 7 lakh Rohingya refugees are present in Bangladesh. And what Bangladesh did was, Bangladesh was also responsible for transferring them to a char, which is called as the Bashar Char. And this char, Bangladesh knows that is vulnerable for floods. So such is the pathetic condition of Rohingyas. India has allowed some Rohingyas to settle in India. They have settled in Delhi, they have settled in Jammu and Kashmir. They have allowed some Rohingyas to settle in India, in Delhi, in Jammu and Kashmir. So that has been done. And Bangladesh always wants India to pressurize Myanmar to accept the refugees, Rohingya refugees who are staying in Bangladesh for a longer period of time, to return back to Myanmar. So Bangladesh wants this. But India says that Bangladesh should talk to Myanmar directly, not through India. Why exerting pressure on military junta? Clear? So this should be talked by them separately to Myanmar and not include India. Now another concern is not only this, there is a group of Rohingyas also, organization of Rohingyas also, which is called as Arakan Salvation Army. Clear? Arakan Salvation Army. And the Arakan Salvation Army has said that they won't allow Rohingya to join ISIS, and also they won't allow Rohingya to join ISI of Pakistan. So they won't be falling prey to the nefarious designs of ISI of Pakistan and also ISIS, which is directed against India. So this has been said by the Arakan. Although the Bali Declaration of the Rohingyas, which was responsible for making inappropriate reference to military agenda of Myanmar, India did not endorse it. India tried to stay away from this conflict. Clear? So the Bali Declaration of the Arakan Salvation Army, which made inappropriate references to the military junta of Myanmar, India was not a part of this declaration and never endorsed this declaration. Why? There's a reason. Because our policy on Myanmar is of constructive engagement with the military junta on one side. Our policy in Myanmar is of constructive engagement with military junta on one side, and on the other side, we are also responsible for supporting the democracy in Myanmar. That's our policy. Clear? So that is our policy that you have to know. So this is the demography of Myanmar. So we have seen the demography, and let's talk about other things. Right on the continuation of military junta in Myanmar. The continuation of military junta in Myanmar. Military junta in Myanmar. The continuation of military junta in Myanmar is due to the prolonged ethnic conflicts. Is due to the prolonged ethnic conflicts. See, Delhi government has allowed Rohingya to settle in a land, not issued a plot for them for permanent stay. No, they have allowed them to settle in a land, and this land is near the ISBT, you can see, and it's also in the Trans Yamuna area. So they have allowed them. Roughly about 40,000 Rohingyas are present in India. It's present in Delhi, but when the agitation takes place in Delhi, they take part on also in those agitations. That's a concern, going concern, that we have allowed you to settle, you are taking part in the protests and also the marches. This should not be done. But Pakistan has not allowed Rohingya to settle. Prolonged ethnic conflict. Clear? Right on the western side of Myanmar, is the Rakhine province. On the western side of Myanmar is the Rakhine region. Which is famous as the football of Myanmar. Myanmar is one of the biggest exporters of rice in the world. In fact, the third biggest exporter. Myanmar is one of the biggest exporters of rice in the world. One of the biggest exporters of rice in the world. Biggest exporters of rice in the world. Clear? And in Rakhine province, it is an area of ethnic conflict. Discrimination of the Burmans takes place against the Rohingyas. Right now, in the Rakhine province, discrimination of the Burmans, takes place. Discrimination of the Burmans takes place against the Rohingyas. Discrimination of Burmans takes place against the Rohingyas. Clear? And this was responsible for exodus of Rohingyas from Rakhine province, and they settled in Bangladesh and also in India. Right? This was responsible for exodus of Rohingyas. This was responsible for exodus of Rohingyas. From the Rakhine province, and they settled in Bangladesh as well as India. So about 40,000 Rohingyas are present in India, and more than 7 lakh present in Bangladesh. Right on, about 40,000 Rohingyas are present in India. And more than 7 lakh in Bangladesh. And Bangladesh even wants India to exert pressure on the military junta of Myanmar to allow these Rohingyas to return back. Right down. Bangladesh wants India to put pressure on the military junta of Myanmar. Bangladesh wants India to put pressure on the military junta of Myanmar. So that Rohingyas can return back. And we can see the condition of Rohingyas is very pathetic. And they were transferred, some Rohingyas were transferred to even Bashar Char, which is an island in Bay of Bengal, by Bangladesh, knowing that it is vulnerable for inundation. Right down. The condition of Rohingyas is very pathetic. Some of them were transferred by Bangladesh. To the Bashar Char. Which is an island vulnerable for floods. And we can see each and every community in Myanmar has distanced itself from Rohingyas for the fear of Burmans. And I can cite an example. Suppose if you talk about the National League for Democracy, which is headed by Aung San Suu Kyi. Now, Aung San Suu Kyi was not responsible for giving a single ticket to Rohingya, and she feared that if she does, then this would be irking the Burmans, who is the dominant force in Myanmar. Clear? So, Aung San Suu Kyi, we can make a reference to Aung San Suu Kyi also. So, all these associated with Rohingyas that you have to know. Then on the Arakan Salvation Army, Arakan Salvation Army, the Arakan Salvation Army of Rohingyas of Rohingyas has stated that that Rohingyas won't align with ISIS, that Rohingyas won't align with ISIS, or with ISI of Pakistan, against India, or of ISI of Pakistan against India. So Rohingyas won't be aligning with them. Clear? And on the other hand, we can see India was not a part of India never endorsed the Bali Declaration of the Rohingyas, which made inappropriate reference to the military junta of Myanmar. Right? On the other hand, India never endorsed. The Bali Declaration, and this declaration was of Rohingyas, Bali Declaration, which made inappropriate reference to military junta, Clear? So India was never a part of that. And as far as India's policy is concerned, India's policy is very clear. India's policy on Myanmar is for constructive engagement with the military junta on one side and support to democracy on the other. Right on India's policy on Myanmar is of constructive engagement, with military junta on one side, because India does not want to work the military junta. Constructive engagement with military junta on one side, and on the other side, supporting democracy, supporting democracy. See, as far as the stand of India and UN on Rohingya issue is concerned, it's very clear that Rohingya should be deported back. We have also asked Myanmar to take the Rohingyas back to their own territory. Yes, that has been said that Rohingyas would be returned back to Myanmar from Bangladesh. So that is a reliable news. But let's see whether they return back or there are certain hurdles in their transfer. Junta government Myanmar are crippling democratic rights of the citizens and making mass arrest, even secret killings and mass killings. Then why is not international community taking any step against the junta government? The first thing is that for international community to take step against the junta regime, you require solid evidence. Suppose if you give even the solid evidence, it may not be acceptable. Democratic process in Myanmar crippled. First of all, the military junta allowed democracy, but the military junta allowed which kind of democracy? It was principal democracy that they allowed. But there were also the ouster of the democratically elected government was due to rigging and also corruption. But military junta is very clear that if there is a democracy in Myanmar, this should be a disciplined democracy. Disciplined democracy in Myanmar. Clear? So, supporting, engaging with military junta on one side and supporting democracy. The National League for Democracy in Myanmar of Aung San Suu Kyi was supported by India. The National League of Democracy in Myanmar, the National League for Democracy in Myanmar, the National League for Democracy in Myanmar, headed by Aung San Suu Kyi, Aung San Suu Kyi. The National League of Democracy in Myanmar, headed by Aung San Suu Kyi, was supported by India. Was supported by India. But then, the policy of India is what? That India has distanced itself from itself after the ouster of the democratically elected government to criticize the military junta of Myanmar, because India knows that it can irk the military junta of Myanmar. Military junta of Myanmar. And even Aung San Suu Kyi, National League of Democracy, never gave a single ticket to Rohingyas, and that was why? Because she feared that the Burmans would be irked because of this step. Even National League of Democracy, never gave a single ticket, to Rohingyas. Even the National League of Democracy never gave a single ticket to Rohingyas for the fear of irking Burmans. For the fear of irking Burmans. Irking Burmans. For the fear of irking Burmans. But see, we distant ourselves from supporting the democracy movement in Myanmar now. Why? After the ouster of democratically elected government, we distant ourselves for denouncing that step. Why? Because if suppose we are responsible for taking this step, the military junta would be pushed more closer to China. India was not a part of any resolution. India was not a part of any resolution denouncing the ouster of democratically elected government in Myanmar. Denouncing the ouster of democratically elected government in Myanmar. Denouncing the ouster of democratically elected government in Myanmar. Democratically elected government in Myanmar. And the reason was what? The reason was India does not want to irk the military junta because the military junta would be pushed closer to China. Write down, as India does not want to irk the military junta. As India does not want to irk the military junta. As India does not want to irk the military junta. And why? The reason is that it would be pushed closer to China. Write down. The reason is that they would be pushed closer to China. The reason is they would be pushed closer to China. Closer to China. Pushed closer to China. See, as far as India's stand is concerned on the refugees coming to Indian northeast states, mainly from Mizoram, mainly in Mizoram, Manipur, and and some of these state governments are responsible for giving shelter to them. India is against them. It takes place on the local level that the state government would be responsible for sheltering them. It can be used as vote bank also in the coming elections they can be used. But the government of India is never responsible for supporting it. Clear first. That is very clear. So junta in Myanmar are crippling democratic rights of citizens and making mass arrests or even secret killings and mass. See, whenever there would be military junta, it cannot be democratic. It cannot be democratic. These things would happen because this is nothing but dictatorship. You cannot expect that the state would be functioning on democratic principle under the reign of military junta. And is Aung San Suu Kyi get punishment from? No, no, it's not right. It's not right at all. We are developing a country. We have a long way to go. But, sir, why these Islamic nations which are more sound economically than India and Rohingya will be well versed with the Islamic culture? So why OIC and other Islamic nations don't take Rohingyas any action for Rohingya community? See, the problem is that the rich Islamic nation are never ready to accept the Rohingyas. Be it UAE, be it Saudi Arabia, they won't accept these people. According to them, they are refugees. It's not only that religion is the basis that if they are of my religion, I can accept them. No. Because these countries know that where their national interest lies. UAE has 30% population of Indians. Why? Because they are skilled professionals. Why should they accept Rohingyas? Only on the sake of religion? No, not at all. Not at all. So that should not be considered. And every time, why should we use religion for connecting with the questions? We should not do that. But now see, irking the military agenda that we know. Now, as far as Myanmar is concerned, Myanmar can be an opportunity for India in the coming years, not due to its strategic perspective, energy perspective, but also that Myanmar now has decided to end its economic dependency on China. So its economic dependency on China ends. This would be providing better opportunity for India to engage with Myanmar through a number of deals. Clear? A number of deals. And this would be a greater opportunity for India. So that can be said. On the other hand, if we talk about the main agreements which have been reached or what were the major breakthroughs in India-Myanmar relations, one major breakthrough in India-Myanmar relation was in the year 1994 when the Land Boundary Development Agreement was signed. Then the biggest project that we have entered, we have signed an agreement with Myanmar, is what it is called as the Kaladan Multi-Nodal Transport and Transit Project. So that's what is Kaladan. Let's see. And we have taken joint action sometimes. For example, in 1995, there was a consignment of arms coming from Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh and it was directed towards the northeast. It was seized by the forces of the two countries under an operation called Operation Golden Bird. Operation Golden Bird. So that was done by India. Operation Golden Bird. See, Rohingyas can form a political, but even formation of political party, they would be discriminated. Sir, we are a developing country. We have a long way to go. But sir, why these Islamic nations are sound economically than India and Bangladesh? Okay, we have covered up this question. Now, next question. Sir, who are supporting the rebel groups that are fighting against the Janda government? Who are arming them and extending logistic and financial support? See, who? Just guess who would be arming them? It would be the democratic countries of the West who are responsible for arming them. And if India can be used as a counterbalance to China, why can't Bangladesh and Myanmar be used as a counterbalance to China also by the West? So there is some relevance of these countries also. Clear? Now, regulatory journal. Now, some notable agreements that we have signed, some notable breakthrough in our relationship includes what, and what is the golden opportunity which comes to India that needs to be also covered up. Right on. Some major breakthroughs in our relationship with Myanmar, some major breakthroughs in our relationship with Myanmar, was in the year 1994, when the land boundary area development, the boundary area should be a developed area, land boundary area development treaty was signed between the two countries. In 2008, the biggest agreement was signed between the two countries. In 2008, the biggest agreement was signed between the two countries, which is called the Kaladan, multimodal transport and transit agreement. Kaladan multimodal transport and transit agreement. And what is this agreement? This agreement says that we would be developing a route from where? The route would be developed from Kolkata. So from Kolkata, the route starts, and then the route starts through what? It starts through a sea route. It enters Myanmar, and the place where it enters Myanmar, that port, is called as what? It's called as Sittwe. From here, it follows the course of Kaladan River. From here, it follows the course of Kaladan River. To reach northward, and from northward, with the help of this route, where it can enter? It can enter the northeast states. So bypassing Bangladesh, we can have a route from this area to the northeast state. Right on. Some major breakthroughs. One you have written in 1994. We can see that the land boundary area development agreement was signed. Right down. The biggest agreement between the two sides was signed in 2008. The biggest agreement between the two sides was signed in the year 2008, which is referred to as the Kaladan, Multimodal Transport and Transit Agreement. The Kaladan Multimodal Transport and Transit Agreement. Transport and Transit Agreement. And what is this? This route starts from Kolkata and through a maritime route, it enters where? It enters Myanmar at a port which is called as Sittwe. Right on. This route starts from Kolkata. This route starts from Kolkata. Through maritime route, it enters Myanmar. Through maritime route, it enters Myanmar. It enters Myanmar. Through maritime route, it enters Myanmar at Sittwe. It enters Myanmar at Sittwe. At Sittwe. And then it follows the course of Kaladan River. Right down. It then follows the course of Kaladan River. This is the river. It then follows the course of Kaladan River to reach the northern part. From where it can enter the northeast states. From where it can enter the northeast states. It can enter the northeast states. So you can see that bypassing Bangladesh, we can enter the northeast from Kolkata. Clear? So bypassing that, we can enter. So this is called as Kaladan Multimodal Transport and Transit Agreement. This is the biggest agreement that we have signed. Clear? Now in 2015, we can see, not 2015, before that also, in the year 1995, the forces of both India and Myanmar, they were responsible for launching an operation which was called as Operation Golden Bird to seize the consignment of arms and ammunition sent from Bangladesh, Cox's Bazar to the northeast. Right down in the year 1995. In the year 1995, the forces of two countries, in the year 1995, the forces of two countries launched Operation Golden Bird. To seize a consignment of arms and ammunition, which was en route. A consignment of arms and ammunition which was en route from Bangladesh, Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, to the northeast, from Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh to the northeast. So this was called as Operation Golden Bird. And then we can see in the year 2015, there was an attack made by insurgent groups in the northeast, and that attack was called as what? That attack was called as Chandel attack. So in response to Chandel attack, the Indian security forces were responsible for conducting hot pursuit and this hot pursuit was conducted by 21 paratroopers. When they crossed the boundary to Myanmar and were responsible for destroying camps of these insurgent groups. Right on in the year 2015. as a response to, year 2015, as a response to the Chandel attack in Northeast, as a response to the Chandel attack in Northeast, Chandel attack in Northeast. A hot pursuit was carried, a hot pursuit was carried by the 21 paratroopers, hot pursuit was carried by the 21 paratroopers, and they crossed the border and entered Myanmar to destroy the insurgent group's camp. Write down. They crossed the border and entered Myanmar. They crossed the border and entered Myanmar. To destroy. Entered Myanmar to destroy the insurgent group. To destroy the insurgent group. Insurgent groups camps, to destroy the insurgent groups camp. Insurgent group camps. So hot pursuit. Although, see, what happened was that the government of Myanmar allowed us to do so. But then the media of India is like anything. Media of India went on and on that, look at the brave soldiers from India crossing the boundary and destroying the insurgent groups camps in Myanmar. Now when Myanmar took a look at that, it was responsible for warning the Indian authorities that we have provided you access. We have provided you access. Clear? So that was done, the Chandel attack. Then we can see that as far as India-Myanmar is concerned, India-Myanmar relation is concerned, sometimes an opportunity can come to India. An opportunity would be like this, that Myanmar does not want to be economically dependent on China. Now this news is good for us. Clear? This news is good for us. And we should utilize this opportunity to develop better ties with Myanmar. Although one can say also that in the year 2020, China invested and signed 33 deals with Myanmar. 33 deals with Myanmar. And China is also developing the Myanmar-China economic corridor. Clear? So let's complete this relationship, and before going to the break, it can be completed. Write down. Myanmar wants to end its dependency on China. Myanmar wants to end its dependency on China and look for new partners. Myanmar wants to end its dependency on China and look for new partners. Look for new partners. It would be a better opportunity for India. It would be a better opportunity for India. Better opportunity for India. Opportunity for India. Although in the year 2020, during Chinese president's visit to Myanmar, 33 deals were signed. 33 deals were signed. And Myanmar China economic corridor. And Myanmar China economic corridor would also be developed. And Myanmar China economic corridor would also be developed. So we should think of carrying on this relationship on a positive note as such. So here we take a break. We'll discuss Afghanistan after this, and also one more relation, Sri Lanka. So try to cover up Afghanistan and Sri Lanka, and then this portion will be completed.